Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to call the meeting to order. I appreciate everybody's travel through inclement weather to attend the meeting today. And hopefully while we're meeting, it will do what it needs to do and then be sunny for your drive home. I doubt that's going to happen, but wishful thinking nonetheless. So, Happy New Year. This is the January 14th, 2026 meeting of the Indiana Historic Preservation Review Board. First order of business is approval of the October 2025 meeting minutes, which are in your pack. We have a motion for approval of the October 2025 minutes. So, we have a second.
Second.
Any discussion, corrections, anything else in the minutes to be done? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, we have Beth McCord and the Division Director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have finally awarded the Historic Preservation matching sub-grants for fiscal year 2025. DHPF money invested totals over $2,790,000 in 5 projects, with matching funds from the recipients. The investment totals approximately $547,000. So while funding is down from our typical years, we are pleased that it still represents a significant local investment in preservation projects. Since these projects are federally funded, we are currently seeking comments from the public and consulting parties through February 9th. Regarding the HPF 2026 subgrants, we will post application materials and information should funding opportunities become available. Congress is currently working towards a minibus package that will include funding for the Department of Interior, and it would provide level funding for HPF or SHPO offices. We are hoping that that passes soon. I believe the board members are aware, but we will have some new board members at the April meeting. Chandler Leidy, Jason Larison, and Ian Shaw have been reappointed to the board, and we appreciate their continued service and continuity that they will bring. Dan Clark resigned late last year, so this will be Scott Keller and April Siebert's last meeting after numerous years of service on the board. We have a new intern with us this semester, Kenny Martin. He's from Ball State, and he'll be joining our other intern, Corey Beals, and assisting in the office in a variety of projects. Lastly, I will mention that the call for proposals for the 2026 Preserving Historic Places Conference is now open. If you have a session idea, the forms are available for download from the Indiana Landmarks Conference website. Submissions are due by February 6th. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Beth? Okay, I do want to pause just a moment. Typically during these meetings, we live stream the meetings using technology called an OWL, which can capture the people who are speaking. The OWL was not available today. We're still live streaming this meeting. So when the board has comments or discussions, it's being captured by this webcam. So just be sure to project, not only for the folks online, but obviously our guests in the room. So thank you for that. Okay, next agenda item are the National Register applications. And first we have the French Lick Methodist Episcopal Church.
And this 1914 brick and limestone building, designed by Shotbell and Company of Evansville. It was an Acton Plains church, built in 1914. Staff believes the property meets criteria C for its architecture and consideration A as a religious property. We feel that it meets that criteria of consideration. We would recommend its approval.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Paul or comments? Hearing none, do we have a motion to forward this application to the National Park Service in Washington, D.C. for further state and federal approvals?
I'll move Siebert that we make the nomination.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second, Keller.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have the Floral Park Cemetery.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This property was not identified in the survey process. The applicant submitted a staff preliminary determination of eligibility form. Floral Park Cemetery was established in 1919 as New Mount Jackson Cemetery. Situated on the west side of Indianapolis, the cemetery was created because the original Mount Jackson Cemetery, a few hundred feet to the east, was running out of room. Floral Park Cemetery is eligible under criteria A for social history as it relates to landscape architecture. The oldest sections of Floral Park Cemetery illustrate a transition between the rural and lawn park styles. The cemetery added more burials to its west, especially after World War II. Burials in this period are characterized by the memorial park design, an embrace of uniforming, pastoral vistas, and flat markings. Additionally, the cemetery is eligible under criteria C for architecture. Another part of the post-war development of Floral Park was Marion County's first garden mausoleum, which was a cheaper and more easily maintained system of above-ground entombment compared to the community mausoleum. Built between 1953 and 1956, the architects were influenced by both the modern and international style in their construction. Staff recommends approval for the state and national registers.
Thank you, David. Any questions for staff? Okay, hearing none. Scott, you have a comment?
I have a comment. This is something that my cousin runs. I've had no interest financially or any other way with it since 1967, so I don't believe I have to abstain.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Okay. With that comment, do we have a motion to forward this application on for further state and federal approvals?
So moved.
We have a second?
I'll second by you.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have the Washington Park Cemetery.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the 1993 Warren Township interim report rated this property notable. Washington Park Cemetery, now known as Washington Park East, was established in 1927 by several Indianapolis Masonic office. It is nominated under criterion A as it reflects changing burial practice from the lawn park to memorial park styles, as well as community mausoleum to garden mausoleum design. This evolution reflects changing American ideas about death while also allowing for easier maintenance, as grave markers tend to be flat memorial park styles, opposed to lawn park cemeteries which feature more upright stones. It is also nominated under criterion C with art, architecture, and landscape design as areas of significance. One of the most notable parts of the cemetery is the Mount Vernon Mausoleum, originally called the Sanctuary of Memories, an architectural building built in the 1940s. It boasts more than 500 scripts, stained art glass windows, and 2 impressive sculptures and angles at the entrance. Also on the grounds are several other features such as statues and fountains paying tribute to George Washington. Thanks to these characteristics, staff recommends approval for the state and national registry.
Thank you, Jamie. Any questions or comments regarding this application? Scott?
Same comment, but I did cut grass there when I was.
No.
Lots of grass.
Oh, that's good. Okay, thank you for the comments. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion to forward this application on for further state and federal approval.
Make the motion ready. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Next, we have the Beulah AME Church in Dunbar School.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Beulah AME Church, built in 1883, and Dunbar School, constructed about 1890, are historic brick gable front buildings that served Washington's African-American population. The church has historic stained art glass windows and original wood entry doors, though a 1952 addition covers the original entrance. The school was modified after it ceased being used as a school, but retains its first-story composition and window openings. Both buildings serve the local AME congregation. The original church building featured a pair of two-panel wood doors with stained art glass full round transom in its north facade, which is largely covered by the 1952 addition. The addition features a front-facing gable and is composed of random forced rusticated limestone ashlars. The gable front painted brick school building is one story, but was originally a two-story building. The round vent in the gable was replicated when the second story was removed during the 1950s. Property is eligible for the National Register under criterion A in the areas of ethnic heritage and social history for significant roles the church and school held in the lives of the early African American population of West Washington and Daviess County. In addition to providing places of worship and education, the buildings played a significant role in the social lives of the African American community. Staff recommends approval for the state and national registers.
Thank you, Holly. Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, do we have a motion to forward this application on for further state and federal approvals? So, thank you. We have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Stephen, I would just like to point out that with this property, there's also very likely an archaeological site. The location of the former parsonage, is drawn on the map here, and it was originally on the 1902 Sanborn map. Just because the building is not extant, that does not mean that the site not hasn't been tested certainly, but almost certainly any excavation around it. So we're trying to have some evidence of that earlier person.
Thank you for that comment. Any other comments or discussion? So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have the Center Street Stone and Concrete Arch Bridge.
This, the Central Street Bridge, was not reported in the 1990 Marshall County Insurance Report. It was recorded in DHPA's bridge inventory and was given, recently given select status. We believe, that is the process. The county commissioners, commissioned the bridge in 1900, it was completed in 1901. Originally, the concrete arch and spandrels of the bridge were as is, exposed concrete, likely to make the bridge's appearance unsuitable for the role of principal crossing. County commissioners hired a contractor to face the bridge in natural boulders in 1907, at the same time as widening the bridge. Lastly, in 1969, the town decided to add integrated sidewalks on each side of the bridge. Army Ditch, the middle fork of the Yellow River, posed a transportation barrier for bridge over time. The bridge served as a principal north-south crossing, as well as a link to the B&O Depot and the town cemetery. Staff believes the bridge is locally significant in criterion A, implication, and C, engineering. Combination of grilled concrete technology and the local condition of using native glacial boulders make the bridge's design locally significant. Transportation link provided by the bridge was critical in access to the Michigan Road, the longer journeys, and connected agreement to the county seats of Plymouth and Goshen. Staff believes the bridge is eligible for inclusion in the state and national registers and recommends its approval. I would note that you do have a lot of comment or objection from the county commissioners, which you all have received.
We also have, Kurt Garner has requested to speak on this topic. And we also, following that, we also have a member of the public here today that opposes this action, but would also be available mostly. So, Kurt, I'll start with you.
That's the member of the public would like to go first. I'll give some background. So I'm the county historian in Marshall County. In spring of 2023, and I've got a timeline, I can submit that. I'm not going to go through everything. But in the spring of 2023, as many of you know, there are local consulting parties that are invited to give comment on undertakings that, involving section 106 and federal funding. There were 3 consulting parties that asked me to come up with agreement and take a look at the bridge on behalf of my role as county historian. And at that time, we looked at the bridge, the Greenland Historical Society, they began to do some research, and then a lot of information came up out of that research that was then provided to the preservation consultant that was hired through PLC. So that's PLC is the engineering consultant. Because the local consulting parties, the invited consulting parties, and the county-wide and consulting parties were all kind of looking to me for direction because for some reason I know about these types of things. We kind of joined as one voice and have been making the statement that we felt like the bridge should be rehabilitated. The county commissioner that you actually received a letter from, Stan Potts, had told our county historical society director that the bridge had been planned to be rehabbed. And so at that point, we all kind of backed off and said, okay, well, it sounds like they're going down this path. When we were invited to be consulting parties, we were also told that there would be a early coordination meeting that would be held so the consulting parties would have an opportunity to discuss it with the engineers. That was in summer of 2023. By the end of 2024, there still had not been a local consulting parties meeting. So I requested that as a local consulting party. And so that was held in Greenland. At that time, the idea of reclassification was something completely new to me. I did not even understand that that was an option. But having written a number of nominations, understanding that the bridge would qualify in both transportation and engineering, we asked for a reclassification request and that documentation, I don't know if that was provided to you, but it basically goes through the same kind of historical information that is part of the nomination. We had heard that the county had changed their mind. The street superintendent, county highway superintendent might have spoken out of turn, but he had said that they came to the conclusion that the bridge would be replaced. And then that's when I submitted an National Register nomination for the bridge, because I understood that getting it listed under both of those criteria was important. What my understanding is, the reason why it was being non-select had nothing to do with the material makeup of the bridge, but the fact that the bridge deck had been replaced in 1960. It wasn't because it was concrete or stone or one or the other. It's actually a hybrid of both. And I think the nomination points toward that. So we asked for a reclassification. To my knowledge, that had not been done yet. Paul has shared, I think that he said that it was in process. We understand that it's leaning that way, but again, we don't have anything official on that. I was a county commissioner. This had never shown up on our bridge priorities while I was there. And I understand, things can happen where all of a sudden the bridge has to move up in terms of priorities. We're just trying to follow our what's available to us as consulting parties. I represent 5 or 6 local consulting parties. In my documentation back to NDOT, it's always shown who's kind of signing on with my letters. So I just wanted you to know it's not one guy that's just doing this. It's been over, well, like I said, since the spring of 2023 that we've been trying to move this through. And I'll say I've been the one trying to get NDOT to shake loose some of their findings. So I don't feel like we've delayed anything, but I'll answer any questions that you have. Again, I've got the timeline of how things kind of got to this point.
But who are the other consultants?
Greenland Historical Society, Greenland Historic Greenland, their preservation group, Wachovia Valley Preservation, which is a countywide preservation organization, Marshall County Historical Society, The video, like open chapter in DAR, sometimes I put like the code for because that's the more down side of it, but, and then, look, I'm getting somebody. I think that's it, and then myself is kind of, useful.
Any other questions for Kirk?
Landmarks not.
They did, they accepted consulting party status. They did not engage in that until we had our, coordination meeting in December 24th. At that time, I don't know. But if landmarks is here, but at that time, they were the one who kind of encouraged me to look at that documentation. Again, I didn't know that existed. And I'm gonna say this, and I don't wanna, please forgive me if it sounds like there's some frustration in my voice, but Marshall County is really still short with the select non-select status. I don't feel like we got a fair shake on that. I think that, we also didn't get a very good representation in our historic structures report survey. And that's very evident. You can just get not on it. But I see other counties that have struggled with the same thing. I don't know if you guys are aware of Jay County's fight in particularly bridge, but it was the same situation. That exact same bridge was rehabbed down in Morgan County. Because it was a self-select bridge there, but a non-select bridge in Jay County. And I don't want to get too far into the weeds. I'm just saying there's very clear problems with that select non-select situation. And one gentleman that actually helped formulate that program, put his name down here, Brandenburg, Paul Brandenburg, and I don't know that I've ever personally met him, but he commented on that select non-select or the reclassification request. And he's like, this is exactly why we have the process to allow things to be.
So that your understanding that the county wants to replace the bridge at this point?
Yes.
Is the bridge stable and functional?
I think we're still waiting for the bridge analysis. Well, there's a member of the public that objects to that, so I don't know. So, again, I don't know that I've seen it. I know I haven't seen the reclassification. The only thing that I think we've actually identified is the historic property.
Any other questions for Kirk? All right, thank you. Paul?
I should point out, and I neglected to earlier, that there's the one letter of objection from the county. There are two letters of support, one from the citizen, one from the local PAR chapter. They're on file.
Thank you.
I do have one. So like, as I understand it, this matters with the highway. What if they come back and the determinations?
That it shouldn't be reclassified or that it's not eligible.
That should be reclassified.
That's on them. I feel like we've proven what we need to prove, in terms of, I think it was misidentified and it was missed in the survey. My understanding is also what helps elevate something to be reclassified is if it's eligible under both criteria of transportation and engineering. So, you know, you guys know this. I've written like 3 dozen bridge nominations. I know that it's eligible under transportation to definitely. So, you know, the historic property report said that it wasn't. Which is also part of the reason why we had that.
It was or wasn't?
Was not.
Other questions?
May I ask who did the historic property? report?
Metrics. And they were, as I understand it, they didn't make the determination that it was only eligible under engineering. My understanding is that's what was in the Indiana's bridge information was that it was going to be. Yeah.
Is on up, this is 2 lanes with the sidewalk on each side, is it? Proposed plan, tear it down and make it 3 lanes, 4 lanes, 6 lanes?
I'm gonna,
One,
I'd have to defer, I haven't seen any at all.
I mean, common sense point of view, why tear down a perfectly structurally sound bridge and replace it with another 2 lane?
I can't comment on that.
I was hoping to speculate if you couldn't.
Well, it's not, that's not fair. That's not my role. I'm the county historian here. And maybe I shouldn't even said I used to be a county commissioner, but I'm the county historian. I'm doing my due diligence based on the other consulting parties coming to me. And so, I mean, there you have it.
Thank you. I'm gonna give Lori Johnson an opportunity if you'd like to address the members of the.
Sure.
board.
I'm Laura Johnson. I work for DLP, so we are here on behalf of our client, Marshall County Commissioners. This bridge, is obviously under the bridge inspection, so the National Bridge Inspection happens every 2 years. Based on those ratings, and I apologize, and the packet is don't have that report, so it could give us the exact details, and I don't have it right now with me. What its ratings are, but is eligible for rehabilitation or reconstruction. So the county applied for federal funds and it received federal funds, so we follow the NDOT federal guidelines when we approach a new project with federal money to rehab or repair it or reconstruct it. During that process, because we knew its status as a non-select structure, we still have to go through a historic preservation task scope. And so during the development of that, we analyzed that it was a non-select structure because it was noted as a stone arch. So this was done by NDOT and Mead and Hunt. They hired a reputable company, consulting in, I think, the late 90s to establish basically statewide which bridges are considered select and non-select. This was a non-select structure. So the ability to replace the bridge when it's needed is available for a non-select structure. So, but it still requires us to proceed through a process, which includes consulting parties and the NEPA process. So during that process, we analyzed a rehabilitation or replacement. The replacement became more economically feasible for the county over the long term. So you have to do a cost benefit analysis. And that is how the county wanted to proceed. So it's perfectly legitimate within the guidelines that they followed for the NEPA process. During the consulting parties, the situation with the select and appealing to get it not or classified as select was started. We're still waiting to get an official determination on that. But, the county feels that based on the data that was collected, that this is a stone arch, not a concrete arch, and that the non-select designation was valid. And, when NDOT and Mead and Hunt went through the process, it was a legitimate process. It had consulting party. It consulted with all parties, public process. So they stand behind that original determination of non-select. So I know that's not what we're here today to decide, but I think that determination should impact your decision today, moving forward.
Thank you, Lori. Are there any questions for Lori?
Lori, can you tell me a bit about what's like happening in the area?
No.
What's the interest to replace?
Well, it's functionally, I don't know that it's probably posted for load. I don't have that exact No, I don't have I wish I had the sheet. And maybe that's what we need to discuss a little bit more. But it would not be eligible for federal funds if it weren't, meeting the criteria for decay. So,
And the engineering report that Kurt alluded to, is that coming through your firm or who's?
yes,
in that?
yeah, we did present that with help with Metric. Metric was one of our sub-consultants. So that was part of our overall contract.
Maybe you can't answer it specifically, but is there gonna be an adverse economic impact if Green doesn't get this, to the community if this bridge doesn't, I mean, again, is there some,
It will likely cost more money to rehab it than to replace it.
so mainly your concern is it's aging out of use.
Right.
It's not that you're seeing an uptick in traffic through there.
No.
or something like that.
No, that's not the issue. It's getting to its useful life, end of its useful life.
And so I'm gonna ask you the same question I asked her, like, what if Federal Highway comes back and their determination is favorable to? I mean, like, what if it's not favorable to your, what you're trying to do?
If they determine it's a select structure, then we will have to proceed with a rehabilitation option based on the county's schedule and budget as as they can fit it into their schedule. But it will cost them additional money.
When will that determination be in?
We have been
2 years, 6 months?
We actually hope it happens soon. I mean, this project, so the way federal money works is you are assigned a certain amount of dollars in a certain fiscal year. And we have to keep kicking that can because it's taking so long to get this determination. So we really are, we hope it comes, I wish it was in my email today, but, it's not, so,
It's not mandatory to be voted today. But
okay.
that's the will of the board. Wait to see what the determination is.
I will let you know that the select, non-select process, that's a 106 process, right? So it's somewhat separate from what Andrea's doing.
Yeah, but 106 can take a long time.
The select, the reclassification memo was approved by NDOT. It was submitted to our office. We have signed that. It is now with Federal Highways. It should be a matter of days to months.
That's what I was hoping.
So you're still saying months?
It's Federal Highways.
I know.
That's their schedule.
So I'd like, let me ask a question, because I feel like we're talking about two different things, right?
Yeah.
So the question about whether not something that's in our hands,
That's part of the 106 process.
whatever we end up doing here with this vote, does it have any sort of impact on their determination? At this point, since it's been signed off on and sent to the feds for review, our vote, one way or the other, is not going to impact the select, non-select determination.
Yeah. But
Um,
I don't believe so, but I will let.
Chad Slider, Assistant Director for Environmental Review with Indiana Division of Historic Preservation and Archaeology, also staff too. To my knowledge, I don't believe whether it's listed or not listed has an impact on the select, non-select status. It was already determined, I believe, as part of to be an eligible resource. It just was not deemed to be select. And the select, non-select is sort of a decision matrix of different criteria which try to, I don't want to say balance historical value against, rehab potential, against condition, current condition, and what the uses could be, whether it's still be used for transportation. That those are criteria that go into that select, non-select decision. My knowledge, and again, I'm not within DOT, but to my knowledge and understanding, Whether or not it's listed doesn't necessarily change the select, non-select decision.
I'm-
That's what I can say.
I want to say if I may, I believe there are even listed bridges. I believe even one of them is a covered bridge that is listed that is non-select. So if that offers any,
So does the listing have an impact then ultimately on financially on the county? If we vote for this,
I can't answer that.
okay,
to be honest.
It would qualify the bridge to be eligible for federal funds for rehabilitation. We list them in insurance.
As I understand it, we might, county commissioner, hat back on. You actually get a higher percentage if you're rehabilitating a historic structure. The Fed actually pick up a higher share. Correct in that? I believe that's. So, as you might guess, there is some backlash that I've gotten back on. The reality is, we probably are doing the county a favor by making it less expensive. It may look like it's more expensive because I think the Fed actually pick up a larger share.
If they pick up a larger share, only if that's true. Right now, they're picking up 80% of the cost, so I'm not sure if that means it's a 90% or not. But I can assure you that we're not talking 10% difference in the cost. So, I mean, we can't give you until we understand what the requirements are. The final cost estimate is still a work in progress.
Well, it goes back to, and I don't need to, it does go back to your point. There's two different things going on here. Reclassification and is it eligible for the National Register? And I think we proved that it's eligible for the National.
There seems to be some discrepancy about the construction of the bridge and the materials.
I feel like.
I didn't see this stuff until I sat down today. So getting a letter of opposition, 10 minutes before a meeting where we have to decide what we're gonna do or not, I think is really tough. Cause if we read a nomination and we're making that decision, you're right, select, non-select has nothing to do with it.
I think we did not mislabel the bridge.
As a consultant,
Because they-
I would absolutely believe that.
So, and I'm not here to beat up on that situation. They just labeled it. That's not why they classified it as non-select. They just labeled it as a stone because it looks like stone. And so that March or April, whenever it was, that I went there in 2023, with some of the members of some of the other consulting parties, that's who identified that stone was placed on with a veneer. And if you look, I don't know if you looked at the historic photos. So there's a historic photo that was taken in 1901. You can tell it's concrete. It's a rubble. It's a filled spandrel arch. So there's rubble inside. I mean, that's what concrete arch bridges are. Most of them. And then there's the bridge, the photo of the bridge when it had the stone placed on it. And so, I'm not here to say it's stone or it's concrete. I'm just here to say it's eligible. If it is classified as a concrete bridge, I think, and I spoke a little bit with Paul about this, it makes it the oldest concrete bridge in the state. Now, again, it's a filled spandrel, so it's concrete and stone. I'm not arguing that. And it was faced with stone in part because of the work that was happening at that Sunnyside Park. I get the sunny side and the shady side mixed up in agreement, but I think that was in relationship to where that bridge was positioned in that part. But I think enough. Just
So why is the county objecting to the national register status if it has nothing to do with the select or non-select status?
I think that the biggest issue for us right now is that the select versus non-select and we understand that the national register status isn't as impactful probably as the select versus non-select. But it's part of the procedure and the overall effort that the county has tried to, advance their bridge program and get this built, reconstructed for a long term from a fiscal standpoint, but if it's non-select, then they can proceed in the most fiscally responsible way for the county at the time. And now this just, I think, adds another checkbox that.
This is why you have section 106, right?
Right. I mean, we still have to follow the same procedure. NEPA still follows the same procedure, in my understanding. I'm an engineer, but it still follows the same procedure as if it's listed or if it's eligible. Is that correct? What the difference here is if it's a non-select structure, they have more opportunities to do different things. So our biggest issue right now is the select versus non-select. And then what does that mean for their scope? Once that decision is made, what does the impacts in that report have impact on the scope of the action that will actually be the project? What does that mean? What is it gonna have to do? What are we gonna have to do to this bridge? That's all unknown at this time.
Right, but our vote here, I mean, it's already with federal highways. So that our vote here on this doesn't really make a difference. I mean, in terms of what the county would like to do and not like to do.
In 2026, that's true, but I don't know what that means for the future.
I mean, having something on the national register doesn't change the non-selectors.
Okay, go ahead, Scott.
I think you're right, it's 80% of new. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's a much bigger pie, and it gets a percentage of it. It's a lot more dollars in the reading. Is it 10% more, 50% more?
They're getting 8% now. I don't imagine that it's ever gonna be, they're gonna get more than 90%. They're not, if they're gonna get 100% of the bridge.
It's 80% of $1 million versus a certain percent of 2 million. It's more dollars to achieve the same thing. My question is.
Well, I don't know that you can say that you achieve the same thing. A new structure is gonna have a longer useful life than a rehab.
Following that argument, we should demolish a lot of historic structures. But
The community is very supportive of many historic things. I mean, they spent a lot of money on their historic courthouse. They have invested in other historic property. This is, with limited transportation funding, they have to be judicious of their county taxpayers and they have to take every possible, manner that they can do to stretch that. So.
Thank you. Kurt, I'll give you one more chance. Hold on for a second. In the
It's
interest-
probably the
Hold
only,
on a second, please.
I'm sorry.
In the interest of time, and we do have other folks who have attended today, I'd like to maybe wrap up our discussions and our questions so we can get to discussion on proceedings. So Kurt, please go ahead.
I was big and deep. As the only Marshall County taxpayer in this room, I support rehabilitation of the bridge.
Okay,
Nope, I think I'm the only one.
I have one question, Laura, you may or may not be able to answer this, but can you explain to me like how the funding comes through federal highway, through NDOT to you all, is that what I understand?
Not to me,
Well, I know, but
but,
to-
so, yes, so
Okay,
NDOT will have a call for projects.
okay, you answered that question. So my second question is, Capital Chronicle recently reported that NDOT was canceling like 300 projects across the state. Do you know if this project was one of these on the traffic lot? No?
I don't know that. My assumption is those are state funded projects. But there is limited, so if they don't use the money in the fiscal year that they're assigned, there is a risk that it's not gonna be available in the next fiscal year that it's ready. So we've already been delayed for a couple of years because, and a project like this that has historic significance, it does take longer, so they scheduled that longer. But this is taking, just the timeline has been extended so much that we're pushing out even from that longer timeline. So I'm not sure what NDOT's federal dollars look like in that fiscal year that we're gonna be in. They might have to push it out further. Just depends.
I think we're mostly just conflating the two things, honestly. The select versus non-select.
I move that we take a vote.
Okay, well, so first of all, thank you for all the thoughtful discussion and background information. I think that was helpful. I think as a board and members, we have options here. We have an option to accept the nomination and forward it on. We have an option to table this nomination pending further information or clarification or discussions with county commissioners, or we have the option to decline the nomination. So I'll just put those out there, and any thoughts or comments?
I'll make the option to table it. I don't know if it'll be a second, but
So we have an option to table this pending further information, discussions, clarifications.
I don't really see any reason not to take a vote. We're voting on eligibility for the bridge based on what we know, based on the nomination, and that seems to be complete.
I can second that.
So procedurally, did we have a second on Chandler's initial motion? Okay, so that motion fails. And then, so April, did you want to make,
I'd like to make a motion that we vote,
okay,
and I would like to make the motion that we forward this nomination.
okay,
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Moving on, we have the Maples Farm.
Trying to catch up, sorry. Okay. This property in Orange County, Indiana, is a farmstead. Besides the historic house, which dates to 1841, with an addition in circa 1850, there are 7 other structures and farm buildings from various states on into the early 20th century. The house, of course, is very notable because it's a very early property, very early wood frame vernacular house in Orange County. Staff believes the property meets criterion A for its association with transportation. It was a stagecoach inn. There's reasonable documentation about its service as a stagecoach inn from 1844 until circa 1880, circa 1890 on the Incense New Albany Road. Also under criterion A, the property is a good representative of history of agriculture in Orange County. The criterion C, primarily the house is significant for its vernacular architecture and is being one of the earliest surviving and intact farmhouses in the county. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Paul? We do have a couple of members of the public here that favor this action, and I'll give you an opportunity to say a few words if you'd like. If not, that's fine too. Okay. Yes, we're good. Okay. That works. Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion to forward this application on to the National Park Service in Washington, D.C. for further state and federal approvals?
I'll make a motion for it on.
Stacy, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have the Green Book sites in Indiana, 1936 to 1967, multiple property documentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Negro Motors Green Book was an annual guide for African American travelers. It was produced by African American New York City postal worker Victor Hugo Green, his wife Alma, and their staff from 1936 through 1967, when Black Americans continued to be openly discriminated against in their access to services related to travel. Green Book entries in Indiana included tourist homes, hotels and motels, resorts, taverns, restaurants, nightclubs, liquor stores, and other businesses. These businesses were located in approximately 20 cities and towns throughout the state. Many of the businesses listed in the Green Book were Black-owned, and the associated properties are important reflections of the rising Black middle class, as well as tangible reminders of the challenges and limitations facing African-American communities in the pre-civil rights era. DHPA gathered information on nearly 200 Indiana businesses that were listed in the Green Book over its years of publication. Through this research, DHPA staff concluded that approximately 35 resources associated with the nearly 200 businesses, or roughly 17%, are currently extant. The multiple property document will provide historic context and registration requirements for listing Green Book sites and amending nominations for previously listed resources. This document was funded by a grant from the National Park Service Historic Preservation Fund, Underrepresented Communities Fund. Staff recommends forwarding the document for acceptance by the National Park Service.
Thank you, Holly. Any questions for Holly? We do have a member of the public here that also favors this action and would be available for questions, or if you'd like to make a comment. Okay, thank you. Okay.
And I will say that Ann did email me a few kind of clarification questions this morning, but nothing that'll take terribly long. It's not substantive, but we'll address those if we need to before we send it to the Park Service.
Okay, thank you. And with that said, we have a motion to forward on this application for further state and federal approvals.
I so move.
We have a second?
I would love to second that.
Wonderful. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those.
I would just say this is a fantastic, and very needed nomination. I congratulate everyone who put time into this nomination. And I think every Indiana high school.
To that point, I got an email just the other day that the middle school was talking about Green Books in Kokomo. So I'm going to share this with them as part of their educational material.
Kokomo is one of the few places that actually has a few left. That's great.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Any other comments or discussion? So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And continue. Thank you. Sorry for that. Next, we have Fox Lake.
Thank you. The historic resort community of Fox Lake became one of only a few lake resorts in the Midwest developed for African Americans during the 20th century. The genesis of the community was located near the middle of Fox Lake's South Shore, which was listed in the National Register of Historic Places in 2001. This nomination, which fully encompasses the original listing, is an update and expansion of the 2001 listing that includes secondary buildings not included in the original resource count, the lake itself, and additional land and resources associated with the resort. This update also seeks to raise the significance of the district from local to statewide due to its unique development as Indiana's only African-American lake resort community. Fox Lake Historic District qualifies for the National Register of Historic Places under Criterion A in the areas of entertainment, recreation, and ethnic heritage. Fox Lake became a destination for summer resort residents as it was developed for African Americans beginning in 1928, at a time when discrimination kept Blacks away from other resort communities, just as many were climbing into financial success, permitting many to seek recreational opportunities outside of urban areas. Fox Lake meets the registration requirements in the multiple property documentation form, Green Book Sites in Indiana, 1936 to 1967. Fox Lake was listed in the Green Book as a resort, which is included in the district category under associated property types in the NPDF. Within the registration requirements of the NPDF, Fox Lake is eligible for the National Register under Criterion A in the areas of ethnic heritage and entertainment and recreation. Fox Lake was last included in the Green Book in 1949, but the resort continued to be a vacation destination for African Americans in Northeast Indiana well into the mid and late 20th century. Many of the cottages are owned by descendants of original owners. Staff recommends approval for the state and national registers.
Thank you, Holly. Any questions for Holly? We also have several members of the public here in support of this nomination. And I will give you an opportunity if you'd like to make any statements or if the members have any questions. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Do we have a motion to forward this application on for further state and federal approvals?
Scott Keller, so moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
One second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have the Irishtown Commercial Historic District.
Mr. Chairman, this district includes 11 contributing buildings and 1 non-contributing building. It is located in the certified local government community of Fort Wayne, Indiana. We processed the application and forwarded it to us. And the preparation of the application is also assisted by DHPA funds ordered by the DHPA. The district's oldest building dates to circa 1868 and its most recent to 1946. The grocery store across the side street, also against Taylor Street, from the bulk of the buildings. The district developed on the south side of Fort Wayne, which was somewhat isolated from downtown Fort Wayne by the rail lines, and served as one of the few commercial areas for residents in the side of town. In Irishtown comes from many Irish immigrants that settled in the immediate area. But the commercial resources in the area served a pretty broad audience of near south side. Staff also believes that the district meets criterion C for its historic architecture, which is includes a variety of Italian and neoclassical buildings and one modern building. It also includes a fairly rare carriage house, apartment house that's located behind one of the main commercial. Rare for that kind of building to survive this long. Staff believes the district is eligible and we would recommend its inclusion.
Thank you, Paul. Any questions for Paul or comments? Hearing none, do we have a motion to forward this application on for further state and federal approval?
I so moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. And our final application is the Maple Place Historic District.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This application was processed by the certified local government in Fort Wayne and forwarded to our office. It was also assisted by HPF monies. The district includes 14 houses, 13 of which are contributing. 1 was built after the period of significance. Under criteria A and C, the district is notable for its harmonious arts and crafts environment developed all at one point in time by the city and suburban building company. So while bungalow and arts and crafts architecture are reasonably common in Fort Wayne, having this many all designed by the same firm and by the same architect in one place makes for a very unusual visual and historical record of how Fort Wayne developed. The district grew from 1912 to 1913 and is rapidly completed, except for the one house. Staff believes the district meets criteria A and C, and we would recommend its approval.
Thank you. Any questions for Paul? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion to forward this application on for further state and federal approvals. So, thank you. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. That concludes the National Register portion of our meeting. If you travel today for that portion and would like to stay for the remainder of the meeting, that's fine. If not, we'll take just a short break, 5 minutes, and we'll reconvene here at about 2:35. Thank you. Okay, we will officially reconvene the meeting with the certificates of approval. We have the application by Indiana Department of Natural Resources, Division of Parks, for a C of A to demolish 7 cabins surrounding A Martin Lodge at Brown County State Park.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A completed application form was received by DHPA staff on August 15, 2025 from Ben Clark, Cultural Resources Manager with DNR Division of State Parks. Staff requested additional information on August 20th, and an engineering report to supplement the application was received on December 5th, 2025. Based on a review of our records, a request for determination of eligibility for the 20 cabins surrounding the A Martin Lodge was submitted to DHPA by the Division of State Parks back in 2013. At that time, DHPA concluded that the group of cabins was not individually eligible for the state register due to a lack of historical integrity. However, the cabin's level of significant integrity was reevaluated in Brown County State Park, was listed in the state national registers in 2020 as a historic district. According to the nomination, the 20 housekeeping cabins / rustic cabins surrounding the 8 Martin Lodge contribute to the significance of the district. The nomination addresses the integrity of the cabins, noting that a 1965 renovation resulted in significant alterations to the building interiors. An additional bathroom remodeling was completed in the 1970s or 80s. However, it states that in all cases, the massing, porch locations, roof form, and general exterior appearance of the cabins has been maintained. Although the rustic cabins have no interior integrity, their exterior integrity is sufficient to classify them as contributing to. So these cabins were constructed in response to Richard Weaver's 1931 housekeeping cabin experience in at Brown County State Park. They were all named for characters in the A. Martin comic strip by Frank McKinney and Mark Hubbard. The goal of the experiment was to provide a lodging experience for guests in between tent camping and in accommodation, which was a new concept for the then Indiana Department of Conservation. The 7 cabins proposed for demolition as part of this certificate of approval application are the Sherman-Williams cabin, the Elmer Moon cabin, the Liv Pash cabin, the Judge Lucy cabin, the Skylar Wiggin cabin, the Maeve Moon cabin, and the Uncle Miles Turner cabin. 3 of these cabins are located south of the lodge and 4 are located west of the lodge. So the DNR Division of Engineering completed a field report to document and describe the existing conditions of each cabin in response to the request by staff. According to the report, sewage problems exist among the 4 cabins west of the lodge, causing a strong odor that the Division of State Parks attempted to solve through the replacement of the main sewer line 4 years ago. The replacement of the line was unsuccessful to remedy the issue. 5 of the cabins have now been rented for at least 2 years, and the other 2 cabins, although rented in 2025, have since experienced roof or ceiling damage due to fallen tree and water damage respectively. Based upon the photos provided, staff notes that some of the cabins appear to exhibit more severe deterioration than others. However, on-site inspection by the Division of Engineering observed a range of conditions among these cabins, including moisture damage, mold, and rot as a result of poor ventilation and condensation from air conditioning units, damage from water infiltration and pest infestation. The report concludes that all 7 cabins would need full renovation in order to make them safe and habitable. Cost estimates were provided for rehab and demolition, with the rehabilitation estimate based upon cost of the recent rehab and 4 other cabins at the same state park within the last 4 years, adjusted for inflation. According to these calculations, rehabilitation would be around $105,000 to $108,000 per unit. 6 of the cabins have 2 units and 1 of them has 4 units. The estimate also includes the additional cost needed to address site, electrical, and sewer work, bringing the total for rehab to nearly $1.9 million. Based upon the figures provided by state parks regarding the average seasonal revenue per rustic cabin unit, staff roughly calculate that the cost of rehabilitation would not be recuperated for at least 35 years. Demolition, on the other hand, is estimated to be around $10,000 per cabin. Although the loss of these 7 historic resources is unfortunate, Staff note that 15 rustic cabins will remain following the demolition, 13 of which contribute to the significance of Brown County State Park. Given the substantial initial costs associated with the rehabilitation and cited lack of funding to address the necessary repairs, there does not appear to be a reasonable alternative to demolition in place. According to the materials provided, demolition of buildings, piping, and foundation walls will likely be confined to areas previously disturbed and walk paths are sitting on grade. If a certificate of approval is granted, the staff recommends the board condition the certificate on the following. Indiana DNR Division of State Parks shall document the 7 cabins in accordance with the DHPA minimum architectural documentation standards. UTM coordinates documenting the locations of the outermost corners of the foundations of each of the 7 cabins shall be recorded and included with the documentation. Information may be compiled into a single documentation package. The draft copy of the documentation shall be submitted to DHPA for comment, and a final copy incorporating any requested edits or changes shall be approved by DHPA prior to any demolition. Also, Indiana DNR Division of State Parks shall install an interpretive sign that describes the significance of the housekeeping cabin exterior as mentioned in the 14th annual report of the Department of Conservation for the fiscal year ending in 1932. September 1932. The sign shall be installed in a publicly accessible and visible area either in the vicinity of the remaining rustic cabins or at a site near the cabin that will be removed. A draft of the content of the sign and a map showing the proposed location shall be submitted to DHPA for comment, and the final copy incorporating any requested edits or changes shall be approved by DHPA. And then also the standard archaeological caveat for post review discovery of archaeological artifacts.
Thank you, Caitlin. Any questions for Caitlin? We also have Ben Clark in the audience from Parks here today for answering questions as well. Yes.
I stayed in 2 of those cabins with my granddaughter and had to be prevented from tearing them down on the spot. They're ghastly, horrible condition. The lodge was so nice in these cabins, were a great idea, but bad execution for us.
Any other comments, stories?
I have a question, if I may. How completely will the foundation walls be? Will there be no sign that the cabins were there, or will there be a little bit of a sign that the cabins were there because the footings or whatever? Because I know for me, I love to go to a park, and even if the building's not there, I want to see where it was, because on Archaeology, there's anything that you call ruins, we like that a lot. And I think that probably a lot of other people who would visit would find that fascinating, to just even be able to see footings of older. I don't know how what's planned.
I'm not, I mean, maybe Ben, I know the answer to this better than I know the answer, but the report that we received indicated that demolition of the building, piping, and foundation walls would be confined to areas previously disturbed. So I assume that means that it would be removed down.
I think the plan is to take the foundation as well, but I agree with you 1,000%. I think there's no reason not to be.
I mean, what's the worst that can happen? It could happen.
But it's not like we're trying to reuse space. So, and we want to put up the interpretive sign to tell us, so I think the foundation. So I am happy to advocate for that. We'll see where it goes. I have that.
Any other questions or comments?
So one of the supplemental documents said that there would be space for picnics and outdoor gatherings. Does that mean that there will be infrastructure put there for those things, or will it just be open?
At this point, there's no plan to put in anything to replace it, but it will be. We can put it there. That's not a part of it.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
This doesn't change my answer or anything. Caitlin had asked about this and an email. It seems like there's not actually 22 cabins, but there's one listed in the nomination. I looked at the map in the nomination. It looks like there's one cabin missing, and then one of the 22 was non-complete.
I did notice that there seemed to be incompatible number of cabins on the nomination map and on the map side of the paper. Not quite sure what the, I mean, ultimately, it's not a huge deal, but.
Well, state asset, you better find that book.
It's Paul's fault, he signed up on the nomination.
I never was good at math.
Other questions or comments? Okay, so do we have a motion to grant this certificate of approval with the following staff recommended conditions that were provided by you?
I will move that we grant this.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I don't want to have anybody else experience what Scott experienced in those taxes.
They're pretty bad.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
That is just without, Abel's comment to retain the foundation, or is that in addition to the others?
That's a good point. I don't know, you know, I think we would want to definitely ask that question. So is there a way to modify the motion to allow for that discussion to occur?
Let's see. I would move that we grant the certificate of approval and request that state parks explore the possibility of leaving some visible foundations to preserve the spatiality of the cabin.
Kind of an additional interpretive feature.
As an, yeah,
Okay.
what he said.
Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. So we have a new motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda, and we have no action to take here, but is the quarterly progress report by PennDOT for Condition 9 of the C of A to Westfield Historic District. You should have that letter. We have, I don't know if this is Beth or
It's Paul.
Paul. We'll move on to agenda item number 4.
Have you all had a chance to review the policy? You're aware that this was shared around with all the assistant directors and the staff people in the office who contributed to editing this idea up. And we feel that it's timely to try to get ahead of the curve on this because we feel it's already being used to at least do some documents that come our way. Stop them from up to some. That's all I have to add to the.
Are we looking for a motion of acceptance? Okay.
So this would go, yes, if the board approves and accepts this, this would go into the policy manual. And then this would be distributed to various people that interact with our office. This DHPA policy as set by. Thank you.
You bet. Do we have a motion to accept the statement on the use of artificial intelligence in the preparation of documents for the Indiana Historic Preservation and Review Board and Division of Historic Preservation and Archaeology?
So moved.
Thank you. We have a second.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Can I propose that the policies moving with a SharePoint or something, or I don't know how they've been distributed in the past, but I don't know if I'm up to date on all the HPA policies.
We can put those on the show. I hope
I thought I did put it in
procedures
SharePoint. It may be that I let everyone know it was on, everything was on SharePoint, and then the next day I added this, so you might have missed it. But it'll also go into the review board sort of manual policies and procedures.
Okay.
It'll be added to that.
And what was that? I think it's yes.
Do you want me to send it separately to you?
It was a great idea. I'm glad you already did it. So.
Yeah. It's in a separate folder.
Yeah.
Sure.
I found that.
Because I'm not sure, when you guys have that link, you can keep going back to that link,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
All I have to do is let you know there's more stuff.
Mhm.
Correct. Buzzing on how that works.
Okay, so I withdraw the comments.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or commentary? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. And before we move into the final portion of our agenda, I think we'd like to share some special recognition of some long-serving and well-deserving board members. So I'll turn it over to Beth.
Sorry you don't have much more of an audience other than our staff, but, a few words for our retiring board members here. J. Scott Keller has served on the board since 2014. Preservationists will remember Scott for his many years of activities redeveloping dozens of Indianapolis's historic downtown apartment buildings, restorer of dozens of historic homes, sponsor for downtown historic districts, board member for Preservation Action, the Nation One Group, and more. Much of Scott's work was started in preservation, was just taking hold in the areas like Chatham Arch and the Northwest Side, and his involvement was critical to their now accepted successes as fine places to live. Scott became a professional antique appraiser and launched yet another career as an art history professor at Heron School of Art and Design. Additionally, he served on the Indianapolis City Council and the Indianapolis Metropolitan Development Commission. We thank you for your service.
Go goal, watch.
Dr. April Siebert has served on the board also since 2014. After earning her BA at Ohio State, master's degree at the University of Illinois in Chicago, and her PhD from Northwestern University. She taught anthropology and archaeology classes at Belgian College, Loyola, and Indiana University, where she remained on faculty since 2002. Dr. Siebert is widely published, having written and co-authored with 20 academics, along with writing and co-authoring 3 books on archaeology and anthropology. She was the director of the Glenn Block Laboratory at Indiana University. She is a former recipient of the DHPA Professional Award, and she is a professor of emeritus at Indiana University. You can thank the two. No gold watch for you.
Would it be a thing if we did have a gold watch?
I know. Yeah.
Well, I just want to echo the thanks for all of your time, your service, your great ideas, your expertise, and your leadership on this. So thank you. And finally, we have the next proposed meeting date, which is April 15th, 2026, right here at the Roosevelt Room at 1:30 p.m. And yes.
I will say for, the properties that we look at in October, no, that's okay. 6 of those just got listed within the last week or so. If you'll remember, that was shut down at that point.
I skipped right over that.
And our reviewer asked us to send them in kind of piecemeal, so they
Okay.
didn't get bombarded by us in these other 12 states.
Understood.
There's still, the other 4 will probably be listed. The first 6 have been listed, the other 4 will probably be listed the next week or so.
Thank you for the update. My apologies for going through that one.
We'll also probably do training before the April meeting.
I should say that the appointment letters for the new board members will be sent out tomorrow, and we'll share all that information with the members. And with that, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
This.